want to be mindful of everyone's time and want to just thank you all for making the time to be with us this morning to go over our next initiative that we've been planning out for a bit of time now, dealing with idling from vehicles and trying to reduce those emissions in various sectors of our county. And again, if I know all of you are muted, but if you have any questions or anything, feel free to unmute yourselves. You should have that ability. If you have any problems, any technical difficulties, please let us know. Feel free to use the chat as you need to, or anything along those lines. Just so you know too, we're going to be, and it's already in play, we're recording this meeting so we can archive this and share this with others that are unable to attend today, so that we can share along this important information on this program that we're building up from the ground up to implement in the months to come. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over and we'll introduce ourselves. My name is Thomas Brinkerhoff, Compliance Division Manager for the Air Pollution Control District.
And good morning, my name is Chris Blancarte. I'm an Air Pollution Control Specialist and I work in the Compliance Division here at APCD.
So we'll be giving a short presentation on this signage project that we're looking to do at the schools in the first corridor, the AB 617 corridor, all Central Heber and Calexico. And we do want this to be a good discussion too. So any questions you have, any comments you have, please let us know. We'll be happy to address them. And we'll be going over next steps as this program is going to be developed and what type of assistance and information we're looking to gather from the school district so we can make this a reality. So let me go ahead and pull up our shared presentation. Go ahead and start this up.
Usually I go on the bottom right, that screen.
Wonderful. Okay.
All right, so I think we can go to slide 2.
All right, so here's our presentation again. Thomas Brinkerhoff, Chris Blancarte, and we'll go ahead and get started.
All right, so yeah, thank you everybody, those of you that are able to attend and listen in to our project that we're working on. So the reason we're here is Assembly Bill 617, you may have heard, started 2017 with APCD, and different initiatives and different strategies are being implemented in our at-risk community to improve air quality. And when CARB visited Imperial County and did a study, they found that a big contributor to our poor air quality at times is the diesel particulate matter that's airborne. We are a community that has a lot of freight traveling through our community. We have a high amount of traffic crossing the border, and these are all contributors to the diesel particulate matter that we have. We are including the schools because schools have children that are more at risk to be affected by diesel particulate matter. There are studies that show that the largest contributor to cancer risk is diesel particulate matter at a young age. So this initiative is being done to protect the whole community, but help children. And you know, there on the slide, I show photos of idling. We all know that idling happens at our ports of entry, and that's one of the main areas is down south in the border. And right now there's a lot of initiatives through CARB to improve the US side of the idling because of car idling. And the reason we're here is to help improve with school buses and deliveries that happen around schools. Next slide. So I think those of you that are on the call, most of you are working transportation and maintenance. So this isn't, you know, totally new information to you, but what drives this project is the California ATCM it's a code, California Code Regulation 2485 that was passed. It was pushed by CARB and became a California regulation many years ago, and it mostly focuses on vehicles that are 10,000 tons or higher. So these are our delivery trucks or school buses, and it aims after their idling activity that they do near restricted areas. The purpose of that code, I have it on the slide there, is to reduce the public exposure to diesel particulate matter by establishing idling restrictions, emission standards, and other requirements for heavy duty diesel engines to limit their diesel fuel coming out of the exhaust, the particulate matter. Restricted areas where they're not allowed to idle for more than 5 minutes. Those are any properties that are zoned for housing, schools, hotels, hospitals, senior care facilities, any property that has one or more of these units. So obviously with this project initiative that we're working on, we're starting and building a foundation with the schools where we know we have a dense population of youth and children. We're trying to get the education and the information out at the schools and start there before we start moving this out to the cities and other restricted areas within the corridor. We're currently working with each of the cities, city of El Centro, city of Calexico, and Heber with DePiro County. We're working with each of them to actually place signs up in areas where there's a lot of semi-truck traffic that idles, and those signs are going to cite the California code that you see there. But what we're working on here with you, with the school districts, isn't going to be citing the California code. It's only a reminder to the parents and the truck drivers and the bus drivers of idling.
We have a sample right here of what the sign is going to be looking like, and I believe Chris shared this in the past, and we'll be sharing it again as we move forward. Just simply encouraging the no idling, that children are present, children breathe these emissions. And although, as Chris has pointed out, that we've shared what is in the state regulation on the California Code of Regulations when it comes to the purpose for commercial vehicles and with respect to restricted areas to reduce exposure of these pollutants. Well, we're also looking at, with the schools, that these type of signs can be put into areas that you see fit, where commercial vehicles drop off of goods may be happening, but also where the drop off and pickup areas are for the children, for the students. Because although there is not an enforcement or restriction when it comes to vehicles for parents, guardians, and whatnot, for residents that are driving their personal vehicles, it's also a good educational tool to reduce and to help reduce their idling as best as possible and get that awareness out there so that we can cut down on these emissions at the school sites. Again, this is a very vulnerable segment of our population, our children. So that's what the main goal is through this whole program.
Yeah. And I recommend, and I can send this out to anybody that asks, but I recommend the transportation, the departments to look at the California Code of Reg. It's very straightforward on where idling can occur, the limits on idling, the 5 minute rule when it comes to loading and unloading traffic, or sorry, people. And then the exceptions. I know I talked to one of the school districts and they were talking about how, special education school buses have some exceptions on how long they can idle. So the California Code of Regulation does have all the details on what is idling, where can you idle, and the limits on idling. So I recommend you take a look at that. And that's what we're using as a starting point for this project.
And of course, any questions on that as we build this program up, and if there's any ambiguity or anything needs to be clarified, please reach out to us. We've been on studying this and getting acquainted with this for the past year. So want to make sure that we're on the same page moving forward.
Yeah. So we've been talking a lot with CARB. A lot of this is coming from the state. They've been working with other air districts throughout California on similar projects, and CARB in previous months has told us, you know, start working with schools and getting the schools to, you know, implement this sign project. We talked with San Diego School District, and they put it out at their AB 617 community, which for them it's a area by Barrio Logan and city of San Diego. They have a region in San Diego that is their at-risk community, and they started implementing the signs, these school signs. So we have a few examples of what they've done in San Diego. They had, I believe, 15 elementary schools that they put the signs at in their corridor. If you can see the slide here on the screen, this was at Chavez Elementary. The school district that helped them with this sign, they put this sign at the kitchen entrance. So they found that the delivery vehicles that are delivering the milk, the produce, everything for the cafeteria, they found that for that specific school, they were concerned about idling. So they wanted the reminder there for the truck drivers, the delivery drivers. And you can see it's a small sign that they place next to the delivery sign, and it's very easy to see for the driver there. And I have another example. This is at Lincoln High School in the corridor, and here they also chose a kitchen entrance. They affixed it to a fence, so you kind of have that flexibility. You know, as we're working with each of these school districts, you can put it on a fence, probably a lot easier. But if you have another way of fixing these signs where it's in the side of view or the view for the driver, that's something that we want. And I think we have one more example. This is at Hoyes or Kimbrough Elementary, and this school or the school district, they wanted to put the sign at their employee parking lot. Which, you know, the regulation doesn't apply to passenger vehicles, but if this is an area, this parking lot probably has a semi-truck or a bus traffic, and they're also in the site. So at each school, they identified different key areas where idling is likely to occur or where they have seen idling.
And again, we don't fortunately have like some like clear pictures from our counterparts when we talk to San Diego Patrol District on how they rolled this out recently. But there have been schools there too that use these signs to put them into the areas where there's heavy traffic with children being dropped off and picked up. You just have a lot of idling that happens. Of course, we know down here it'll be a bit challenging to get that message and to see reductions when it's so hot out. You know, people need to have their cars running and have that cool air blowing around and to keep their vehicles cool for themselves and for their kids. But you know, despite that, there's plenty of other times where the weather is cooperative, it is nice, and it could be something that's looked at and practiced more and more and more to not have your car always on when it's not needed. And certainly when it comes to commercial vehicles, that, you know, the regulation applies where there is time restrictions, and that's something that we can, you know, through this signage that's put in each school, work to better educate and have a presence there so that we can reduce these emissions.
Yep. All right, so yeah, and kind of this is the primary reason why we wanted to have this call, is being able to work with the school districts and have a good coordination with each of you school districts to get this out and roll this out. And we need your help. You know, we need your help with getting these signs out. So the signs that we have, they're going to be funded through, we have grant money from AB 617, as well as other funding that we have. And APCD is looking to supply the signs. And we are on our side, we'll be working with a sign company on a purchase order. I wrote here on the slide, we're going to be working to place a purchase order and get all these signs created. Before we can go through that process of purchasing the signs, we need help from the school districts And we need each school district to identify locations at each of your schools in your district. And each school is going to have a different need. You know, if you have a school that only has one area that's very sensitive, you might only need one English sign and one Spanish sign. If you have an area that's high traffic, a school that's high traffic and surrounded all four ways by streets, you might need additional signs. So what we need is a count, an estimate on a total count for your school district, and then a count by school. I know we had talked about like amounts, right?
Yeah, so I'll get the highlights. So we have this sign, you know, and we all have a identical one that's in Spanish. So you all at your schools know what's best, whether there is a need to have, I would imagine down in the county where we live, obviously it's a bilingual population. So we have them. So what we didn't know is whether you want them in English or Spanish or both. We're looking at deploying at least 2 signs in each school site, each specific school site. And but more than likely, we will have the flexibility to do 4. So whether the 4 English, 4 Spanish, 2 and 2. But if there is a need for maybe a slightly higher number, please let us know through this exercise. Contact us. We can have a phone call or another meeting one-on-one, and then we can get this on paper with these locations. There's other information here that Chris will cover right now.
Yeah, so you know, in order to make this process smooth with all the school districts, since we have 6 school districts that are in our community, you know, in San Diego, they only have 1 school district. Here we have 6. What I'm asking is if each of the school districts could email me, and my email's on the last slide, and you probably already have my email from the Zoom invite. But if you can send me an email with a packet, and the packet having a cover page of, you know, your school district, who your primary contact is, to send an agreement. So we'll be working on our end on a very short agreement that explains the whys and the what of the project.
Like a 1 to 2 page document. Yeah.
Very short, high level agreement. And we need that agreement so that we can show our board and show the state that we have agreements in place to have schools buy in and be part of this initiative to improve air quality. So we'll need your primary contact to send the agreement to, that we're agreeing to place signs, who that person is, their email, their phone number, and their mailing address. So we have that contact information. And then I also would like to know who your primary contact is for your school district. When the signs are made and we have the signs ready, where are we delivering the signs? So where and who, the person, the delivery address, their phone number, so that when it comes time in the fall or in the winter to deliver these signs, where are we taking them to provide them to your district?
Yeah. So to give a little more background to, once this project, you know, it takes time to build up and for us to execute this, but the sooner we can get the agreements in place and have the conversation with the school district on the locations of where the signs are going to be best suitable, where we can get the most effectiveness out of them, that'll be great. Once we have, again, all the signed agreements from hopefully all the school districts that are interested in this. And to reiterate too, this will be the cost for the signs, again, we will fund. So there'll be 0 cost to the schools. The only cost and time will be to install these signs, to erect these signs at your schools. And obviously with the districts, you all have personnel and whether it's transportation or groundskeepers that can put these up, shouldn't be much of a challenge. I know in San Diego and other jurisdictions, so it was a really smooth process. And what we envision too is, more than likely, you know, with that contact of who we know we're going to be dropping off the signs to when the time comes, we can just go to the school, go to the office, drop them off with that individual, maybe have a quick little sign off that we drop them off and you receive them, and that'll be that. And then after that, once they're installed, probably we'll be looking at, once we drop them off, you know, a time frame like within 30 days that the signs will be installed, give a you know, adequate time where the school district, each school district can make sure that these signs are put up correctly. And then just to have photos sent to us to confirm it. And then we can also go out there too if there's any questions and verify the installation. So that's what we're looking at. Once we have everything in place with the agreements, we would then be going forward with getting approval from our board, from the County Board of Supervisors for the project to use our funds in this manner, and then get a contract we'll already have in place in draft form with Acme Supply Company that does a lot of sign creation here in the Valley to get that rolling. So our goal is to try to get this in place by the end of the year. But if we do miss that mark, certainly by Q1 of 2024. So is there anything else you want to add right here, Chris?
No, I think that covers everything. Yeah, the timeline, it's not a highly urgent, but we want to get this going and have it completed by the end of the year, like you mentioned. And yeah, I think that's it. That's all I got.
And here's our contact information. And I know a number of y'all have been in contact with Chris or with me in previous years. So let me go ahead and stop sharing our screen here. And then I'll turn it over to you all to see if you have any questions. We can spend this time to go over any comments and concerns you have. And we look forward to making this a successful project for all the schools down here and to reduce these emissions and improve our air quality. So with that, I don't know if Tello, Michael, Antonio, do you have any questions?
Yes, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you guys for taking the time to share all this information with us. I do have a question.
Yes.
So the implementation of the science project, is this just going to start right now in Heber, Calexico, and in El Centro, or it's going to be the 6 districts in the valley?
So yeah, when we refer to the 6, we're referring to the 6 school districts that are associated with El Centro, Heber, and Calexico, so the elementary and the high school districts, as well as McCabe and Meadows. But yeah, our intent, and which is why we at this point are examining what's most appropriate out of which funding source their district's going to be using to fund this. We may use different funding sources depending on the location, but our intent with talking with our air pollution control officer, Belen, is to have this spread out throughout the county. So we'll be looking at eventually rolling this out. We just wanted to have a starting point. We felt the most proper starting point would be our original AB 617 corridor, which we received again special funding back in 2018, 2019 to set up community-based projects to reduce emissions and to reduce exposure for residents. So we wanted to start here, but our intent is to roll this out up and down the county. We'll probably then be looking at rolling this out in our newer community through the AB 617 program, which we some of y'all may have heard was in the news earlier this year, which is Brawley and Westmoreland and Calipatria.
Yeah.
And we'll be looking at doing that up there, and then also just all the communities in between. We just want to get this going, and so yeah, that's our intent, because I mean, any school site, this is going to be an issue. So
yeah,
just kind of like similar to what we did with the air filtration projects, those enhanced air filtration systems that we've done in the corridor. Ideally, we would like to do that throughout other districts and other communities. And I know now that we have this North community that's in the program, we'll be looking to do that over there too. So yeah, we're going to start here, but we're going to hopefully keep pressing as long as we have the funds and the resources to do so.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions by anybody?
Hi, this is Antonio Zamora.
Hi.
What are the dimensions on the sign, if you could tell me?
Let's see. Well, right here, I would say that it's probably, well, we'll give you the specific ones. We can send it out because I know we have that drawn up in some of the documentation we got from the state.
Yeah.
But it's looking like it's probably about 1.5 feet long by maybe about 10 inches wide. So I would say it's probably like a common sign you see that's where there's traffic, other parking type of signs too. So yeah, it's decent. It's not a huge sign, but that kind of gives the dimensions, and we can definitely send that your way. So I think fixed to whether it's best for the specific school site to have a post and put it on a post in an area, or put it along a fencing area, which you see the majority of schools in San Diego do that, to put them up on the fencing, as long as the fencing is close to wherever the idling activity may happen, wherever the drop off is for goods or for the students, for the kids. We've seen that a lot.
Is there a limit to how many signs we can have at a school site? Because our bus drop off is separate, obviously, from our product drop off for warehouse stuff.
Yeah, so we're looking at again out of the gate for like the smaller schools, if they only need a couple, that's fine. We're looking at doing about 4, committing to 4 per school, if that's what's needed. If there is the need to have more than 4, and again, in maybe one location too, you may not need English and Spanish. You may like say, okay, for the commercial drop-off area of goods, maybe we just need an English or Spanish. And then maybe where the kids are dropped off, maybe we'll have a blending of English and Spanish. But if there's a need for more than 4, maybe we could do maybe an additional 1 or 2, as long as that is justified and then sent to us so that we can review it and then come to that agreement.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And to provide a little more context too, because I know some of our contacts when we were planning to have this meeting was, how's the enforcement going to be on this? What's the enforcement going to look like? So what we're doing with this initiative with the schools, as well as what we're looking at for idling activities along streets and different areas that are close to like homes and sensitive areas in cities, is we're going to be rolling this out with an education and awareness lens, for the first year or so. And when it comes to, again, vehicles that are driven by parents and guardians and whatnot, faculty, non-commercial vehicles are not subject to these time restrictions and whatnot, but you can still get the message across that idling, excessive idling is going to be bad. You're just having all those tailpipe emissions from your vehicle, those combustion emissions coming out. That's where you get all those diesel particulates. So what we're looking at though, eventually, once we get this foundation out and we have these signs installed at the schools, that, for the schools themselves, if you do see commercial vehicles that are subject to the code, that are idling and not following through with what the restrictions are, or with the timing that's allotted, let us know, and that's something we're going to be looking at perhaps like in late 2024, 2025, to start that enforcement. And what we would do in the air district, such as other air districts up and down the state, is we would then cite as needed through notices to comply or notices of violation, which would be sent to the companies that own the trucks, so that there is an enforcement branch, an enforcement mechanism in place, whether it's at the schools or throughout the communities where we have the signs where we see, our guys eventually, once that education's out there and people should know better, there's been that time to adjust in our communities from the businesses, then yes, we'll be looking at citing where we need to, and sending those notices out there so that we can get these type of behaviors, these type of emissions capped, reduced as best as possible. So just to give you a little more clarity on that.
And just to add on that, we had a conversation about making a 1-page flyer, or kind of like a 1-page reminder. And that 1-pager could be shared with your school bus drivers. I know that the school bus drivers have annual training, but a reminder to the school bus drivers that, the air pollution control district is mindful and aware of idling, and it still continues to be an issue. So what they can do and what they should do when it comes to idling. So we're talking about making a 1-page to give each of the school districts, and then also maybe a separate type of 1-page flyer for the students to send out to each of the students.
To take home with them.
To take home,
Yeah.
and remind the parents, this is still an issue, an air quality issue that we face.
And how everybody can help, to make it better. And again, I think education, we see a lot, when you get that information out there and you're coming in with something that can be done, an action that can be done, taking some ownership, just each individual person to make a better change, to have a positive influence, then you see that happen. So yeah, we'll be putting together, those like kind of like a little fact sheet, like a little, just like a little flyer, very easy to read, very straightforward, that can be helpful for a general person, the community out there, that we can roll out to once we have these signs ready to go and delivered. We can also send those out electronically and several copies so that you guys have that. And I think it'd be very helpful moving forward.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it in a nutshell. And we're very, again, pleased to be working with you all, and thank you for joining us today. Are there any other questions that any of you gentlemen have before we end this? Okay, seeing none. Again, thank you so much. Chris Blancarte and myself are at your disposal. If you have any questions, please email us, call us. We'll be on getting this, especially since we had a number of districts not able to join us today. We'll be looking at sharing this either through email or getting this up on our website so that any of the school contacts we have can refer back to this and gain knowledge through this. And we'll be in contact with steps moving forward with these, with you all and other school officials, and identifying, potential locations for these signs and getting agreements in place so that we can move forward on this. So we hope to have that conversation and back and forth and get this planned out through now and the end of summer when school starts, so that then on the air district side, we can then take this in the fall and get the contracts drafted up that we need to with ACME, and get the agreements and get on the board's calendar to get an approval from our county board on this, so that we can actually then use the funds and get the signs made.
Yep.
Any way I can get a copy of the PowerPoint for the information?
Yeah, so again, we're gonna hopefully have this all ready to go. We're having it downloaded to our cloud right now through Zoom, and we can have this posted, I would think, by no later than tomorrow. So even if it's too big of a file, Antonio, to send out, we will have the link on our website or on our YouTube page, and we'll have it there so that yourself or any staff you can share this with, so that again, you can get this education, and so that we can all be on the same page moving forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. Did you have another question, Mr. Lopez?
No, I just the same question that Mr. Zamora had, I was gonna make, but no, thank you for everything. We'll.
Okay, wonderful. Well, again, thank you, gentlemen. We really appreciate your time. We look forward to working with you all and with your counterparts of the school districts to make this a reality. And we'll be in touch. So have a great day. Take care.
Thanks.
Thank you.
You too.
Thank you.